He is the most giving person, if you all knew what we do. Every day on TV and radio, he covers the cost of lunches and dinners for his whole team. You've aided all of our careers, Sean, and you're just a genuinely nice person. Sean Hannity says he will never get married again. He has been a powerful voice in the media for years, enthralling millions with his incisive observations and firm beliefs. He made a personal confession at the age of 62 that was full of surprising love, dedication, and anguish. Additional text exchanges from Fox host Sean Hannity have been made public by the January 6th committee. What caused his 30-year marriage to Jill Rhodes to end? How did he discover an unexpected bond with his co-worker at Fox News? Come along with us as we explore his emotional journey through struggles, love, and grief. The impact of affection. Sean Hannity was just a young guy like everyone else before he rose to fame as a television figure, doing his best to navigate the fascinating and occasionally perplexing world of love. Growing up, he was not the self-assured broadcaster he is now. He was a straightforward young man with aspirations who lived in New York's Franklin Square while he attempted to discover his identity. He wasn't the kind of guy who would have loved to be on screen in his younger years. He was somewhat of a reserved youngster who enjoyed taking in the surroundings. Like many young people, he had heartbreaks, crushes, and occasional moments of connection that made a positive impression on him. Love had a way of finding him. His early relationships were not the kind of romance one might anticipate from someone who would go on to become well-known in the media. They were straightforward and charming. Similar to many first loves, he may have had a quiet moment with someone he adored from a distance or laughed with about little matters that only made sense to them. These early encounters were not theatrical. Rather, they taught us the true meaning of having a profound affection for someone. One of the things that made his partnership unique was their innocence together. They were only two people who enjoyed experimenting with the concept of love and were not impacted by notoriety or wealth. He learned a valuable lesson about patience, respect, and understanding from those early days. He carried with him all he had learned as a child when he entered adulthood, realizing that love was about creating a relationship that would last a lifetime rather than finding someone attractive or enjoyable to spend time with. When he met the lady who would become his wife and the mother of his children, all of these served as evidence to the world. If anybody had told him as a child that he would be in a relationship for 30 years, he would never have believed them. What was so unique about his love that it endured for decades? The love test. Simple pleasures characterized Sean's love experiences, preparing him for something more profound. He met a lovely woman, and their connection lasted for a long time. The woman who became his wife and companion, Jill Rhodes, supported him through both good and difficult times. Sean was just beginning to establish his radio career in 1991. However, when their paths happened to intersect in a way that seemed predetermined, Jill was already employed as a journalist. He was instantly drawn to her after seeing a photo of her in a newspaper. He later acknowledged that he was unable to ignore the way her brains and beauty stood out to him. He quickly realized that she was different from other persons he had ever met when they finally met. The traits that set her apart were her intelligence, kindness, and support. His gregarious, self-assured demeanor complemented her reflective disposition flawlessly. Their relationship seemed strong and genuine because they balanced one another. Their romance swiftly turned into a serious one. Additionally, the pair married in 1993 in a modest but significant ceremony. They kept their weddings modest and concentrated on the important things, in contrast to the extravagant nuptials of Hollywood celebrities. And that was their dedication and affection for one another. They were married for nearly 30 years. Despite the difficulties of marriage, they managed to live their lives together, discussing the difficulties with one another. As his career took off, Sean was able to host television shows and radio shows, and became one of the most well-known voices in the media. The pressure from all of this could strain even the strongest relationships. And as his fame grew, so did the amount of time he spent working, which grew with his constant travel. But Jill was his rock and always there for him no matter what. The one he could always rely on when things became tough for him. She was concentrating on their home life, raising their two children, Patrick and Mary Kelly, and helping to establish a secure and caring environment for their family while he was occupied with the spotlight. They both managed to stay in touch and share everything with one another in spite of her husband's work obligations, praising their accomplishments and relying on oneself in trying times. He said that Jill has been his greatest ally, giving him the confidence to keep going for his goals. In addition to being a wonderful wife, Jill was an amazing person in her own right. She was better able to comprehend her husband's professional issues because of her journalism experience and expertise. She was a strong, independent woman in addition to being understanding. She ensured that their children were adored even if their father was away owing to a hectic schedule by raising them with love and care. Early on in their relationship, Sean recognized these traits in her. They lived a life full of love, laughter, and many memories together for almost 30 years. However, they continued to face several difficulties as his professional obligations and the pressures of public life started to negatively affect their relationship. These had always been a part of their lives, but they continued to put their children and the life they created together first, fighting hard to keep their family together. However, difficulties that are difficult to overcome can arise in even the longest and strongest relationships. What caused their marriage to terminate quietly after all these years? When a career and love clash. Even though the couple continued to love one another, they faced many obstacles in their lengthy partnership. These difficulties were minor at first, but as time passed, Sean's job and its hectic schedule started to strain their relationship, and the long distance made communication challenging. And as time went on, they began to focus on separate things since her quiet, more private way of living and his public existence as a broadcaster seemed to be two different universes. Every action and remark he made was being closely observed by the public and the media. However, a private woman found it hard to cope with this kind of unrelenting attention, and it further strained their marriage. She began to question whether marrying someone so well-known was the right choice for her from the beginning. Every relationship needs communication, but they found it more difficult to maintain their connection due to their hectic schedules. Despite their intense love and respect for one another, their relationship started to suffer from a lack of consistent and meaningful communication. They decided to dissolve their marriage after years of dealing with these difficulties. Furthermore, this decision was not made quickly or with ease. They made the choice together after realizing they couldn't provide each other with the support they required in a relationship. Their respectful and peaceful separation demonstrated their continued love and concern for one another. They made the decision to put their family before their love, in contrast to many well-publicized splits that turn ugly in public. They decided to part ways in order to determine the best course of action for themselves. They kept talking well of each other even after their marriage ended, and he acknowledged her support and the years of love they had shared, as well as his appreciation for her contribution to his life. She has kept a more discreet and improved presence, concentrating on her family and kids. Although divorcing is never easy, Sean and Jill continued to place a high value on their family. For the benefit of their kids, how did they manage to remain together? The affection of the family. The two of them were aware that their children, Patrick and Mary, would always come first, even after their marriage ended. Additionally, their roles as parents stayed the same despite the changes in their husband and wife relationship. Nothing was more important to them than showing their family love and support, and they remained a team when it came to their kids. Children always struggle when their parents divorce. However, Sean and Jill vowed to put their children first no matter what. Even though their parents are no longer together, they wanted them to grow up knowing that they were surrounded by love, and they made a concerted effort to uphold this vow. Co-parenting means prioritizing the children's needs and cooperating to ensure their happiness and safety. He and his ex-wife ensured that there was open communication and that decisions regarding their children's education and activities were made jointly. Jill concentrated on keeping things as normal as possible, giving the kids a sense of stability during the time of change, and he made sure to make time for them despite his hectic career after the divorce. He attended their school functions and spent quality time with them, demonstrating that they were his top priority. Their mutual respect was the key to their successful co-parenting. They made sure the kids never felt trapped in the heart of the situation and avoided having arguments in front of them. The children could see that their parents loved deeply about them and were working together for their benefit, and they understood that their parents' dedication was crucial. Sean started to let a new avenue into his heart since he was dedicated to his kids. Is there another woman involved in his new path? A fresh companion. He kept a lot of his personal life quiet over the years he spent co-parenting and raising his kids, and he eventually began to feel something for a talented and intelligent co-worker at Fox News. Ainsley Earnhardt is renowned for her powerful presence and kind disposition. Like Sean, she has had to balance a demanding work with her personal issues and has gone through her own struggles with love and grief. Because of her prior experiences, she shared Hannity's perspective, which made it simple for them to comprehend the issues their employment caused in their marriages. Since they had similar ideals, worked at the same network, and frequently crossed paths, their connection was straightforward. At first, there was only professional respect and a polite conversation. Later on, however, a deeper link developed that they were unable to ignore. A silent moment of comprehension, laughter, and the recognition that they genuinely enjoyed each other's company served as the foundation for their relationship. From their love of church and community to their commitment to their families, they found that they shared a lot in common. These principles served as the cornerstone of the partnership, and a natural balance was established between Hannity's strong personality and Ainsley's temperament. The connection was not about being in the spotlight. Rather, it was about the small things that brought them delight as they reminisced about their shared interests and professions and discovered contentment in each other's company. He greatly appreciated her capacity for optimism, especially in the face of adversity, and she reciprocated by admiring his unwavering determination in all facets of his life. It was a chance to start something fresh and discover happiness and a companion after a lengthy period of personal development, but he never regarded it as a way to replace her prior connection with Jill. She also saw it as a chance to live out the rest of her days with someone who shared her feelings. They intended to relish the moment and create something significant together, but they kept it quiet. As their relationship grew stronger. Apart from the relationship, their privacy would always be compromised by being in the spotlight. In their romantic lives, how did they respond to public scrutiny? The moment when love becomes news. Even while Sean and Ainsley loved their quiet existence together and found solace in one another, they would inevitably have difficulties protecting their privacy. Since they are both well-known personalities in the media industry, rumors about their relationship started to circulate as they spent time together away from the spotlight, preferring private moments to public displays. It all began when a harmless photo was shared following an occasion, and people noted how often they started to show up in the same locations. All of a sudden, their kinship was discussed along with various details regarding their relationship. They both had to change their priorities from enjoying their relationship in private to addressing the public's attention. However, they took a different route rather than responding to the stories. They maintained their composure and refused to allow the gossip to define their bond. They stayed loyal to themselves, demonstrating that their relationship was more significant than what other people believed, as Sean was accustomed to being in the spotlight. Despite their intense affection for one another, they never felt the need to declare their love or show it off. Their willingness to put aside gossip and concentrate on supporting one another said a lot about their relationship. They didn't have to show the world how much they loved each other. All they had to do was keep demonstrating it to themselves. However, what specifically drew these two well-known media figures together? A strong bond with religion. Because Sean and Ainsley shared a foundation of faith and beliefs that made their bond strong and difficult to break. Their relationship went beyond simple romance. He had always relied on his faith to guide him, and in spite of the turmoil and gossip surrounding his profession, he found solace and purpose in his convictions. Her strong religious beliefs also had a significant role in her personality, as she frequently discussed the value of prayer, thankfulness, and faith in God's plan. As they became closer, their shared values became clear, and they found common ground on issues like family, morality, and leading a meaningful life. Finding someone who shares one's ideals and lives by them is difficult, but they both value kindness and assisting others. He was impressed by her capacity to find the positive aspects of any circumstance. Their love of praying together was strengthened by their respect for one another, supported one another, and took solace in the knowledge that they were both making an effort to lead fulfilling lives. Their reliance on religion during their difficult times was one of the most unique aspects of their relationship. The dissolution of Sean's lengthy marriage and her own personal issues were challenges for both of them. However, they remained strong and continued to go forward by using their faith rather than allowing those difficulties to destroy their love. Because they were both loving parents who wanted the best for their kids, they also had a strong affection for their families. They had a greater incentive to bond because of their shared goal, and they recognized the happiness and obligations that accompany family life. They established a bond in which they could develop, encourage one another, and discover happiness in the small things. Even though they had a deep link because of their strong convictions, Ainsley had a difficult time finding love in the past. In what ways did her prior experiences equip her for this kind of connection? A fondness for the past. Ainsley Earhart's previous relationship with Sean wasn't easy either. She went through the heartache of divorce and the challenges of marriage. She became stronger, wiser, and prepared for a love that would feel right as a result of these experiences. Like many young couples, she was full of aspirations and hopes for starting a life together when she married her first husband, Kevin McKinney, in 2005. They were excited and in love when they first got married, but things soon started to go the other way, and in 2009 they made the decision to part ways. She never stopped loving and began anew, but the decision was taken so that they could both move on with their life. She regained her confidence and discovered more about herself outside of her marriage. This gave her valuable life lessons about self-love and perseverance, and she wanted to build a life like that for herself. She fell in love once more in 2012 and wed Will Proctor, a former football player. Shortly after, they welcomed Hayden, their daughter, into the world. For her, becoming a mother was a unique experience, and she referred to it as one of her greatest life's joys. She found happiness and strength in her daughter, and her daughter was her rock, no matter what life threw at her. She welcomed motherhood wholeheartedly, juggling the demands of raising a child with her rigorous job as a Fox News personality. Even though Hayden made her life happier, she and Will divorced in 2018, ending their marriage. She was resolved to concentrate on her daughter, therefore this time was different, and provide her child a loving, meaningful life. She took some time to grieve and think back on her life after her second divorce. She started to rely more on her faith, which had always served as a beacon of hope for her. As she discovered direction and serenity, prayer became a daily ritual. She surrounded herself with family members who affirmed her value and people who encouraged her. She talked on the value of loving oneself and came to the realization that she needed time to grow and heal. Therefore, she had to fully love and accept herself before she could welcome love back into her life. Her ideas on relationships were influenced by her experiences as a single mother, and she was aware of her desires. She began searching for a spouse who shared her ideals and would adore her in addition to cherishing her daughter. She realized she had reached a place where she was prepared to let her heart open once more when she and Hannity started to become closer. She had learned the value of patience and the significance of establishing strong bonds based on mutual respect and understanding from her prior experiences. Given their many similarities, Sean was someone who fit that belief. He was impressed by her religion and her love for her daughter, and they clicked right away. They started to envision what their future might hold. What does each of them have ahead of them? A fresh chapter. Despite their extensive prior experiences, they both found something unique, the opportunity to start fresh. Because they had learnt from their pasts, their partnership was special. Sean contributed knowledge and insight from his experiences as a husband, father, and public figure. And Ainsley brought faith and an open heart since she had been a mother herself. They were prepared to welcome a new phase of their love together. As they act as role models for their children and ensure that they find happiness and love during their difficult times, they realized how vital it was to provide a loving and supporting atmosphere for them. They started discussing their goals and how they could help one another as they went along. Sean, at 62, is a man who has witnessed it all. He has known success, heartache, love, and hardship. Despite all of this, he was still dedicated to learning and developing while remaining loyal to himself and Ainsley. As their relationship progresses, they make the decision to establish more bonds and create a loving environment for both themselves and their kids. They also constantly strive to avoid making any public declarations. How do you feel about Sean Hannity's romantic journey? Will his relationship with Ainsley Earhart change the definition of true love? Let us know what you think by leaving a comment. For more, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Click the following video that appears on your screen as well. You'll like it.